Welcome to SilverC Review. See how I did this earlier? Alright. The sun's going down. I'm going to be a little bright, but I think it will get better. This podcast will have an introduction, a movie review, a movie recommendation, some jokes and quotes, and then an Inside the Intorvert section. They're all listed down below with the time, so if you want to skip to a certain section or whatever, just feel free to do so. If you want me to review a certain movie, post it in the comments anywhere. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, wherever. Which, speaking of that, I made an Instagram account, my first one ever. Like, I don't have a personal one or anything like that. So I'm still trying to, I guess essentially Instagram is just like Twitter, but with pictures and video only, with some text included. Like, they just don't have any text-only posts unless it's a picture. So it's kind of weird. I'm not sure why it transitioned from, like, I know Twitter is still popular, but it seems like Instagram is more popular now. I don't know. I'm not really that old, but I just don't keep up with social media that much. I need to sit better. Hang on. Without, like, falling. There we go. The video before this one, and probably this one, the exposure was off. So I was, like, super bright. I had actually, not the last video, but the video before that, I had increased the exposure so that way, because it was kind of dark in that area, and I forgot to readjust it. I forget when I turn my camera off that it doesn't reset everything. I feel like it should. So that's why I was so bright in the last one, and this one is because the sun's literally shining in my eyes. But in the last one, it was like, I don't remember the sun shining in my eyes, but man, I was really bright, and that's because of the exposure. So there was no wind noise in the last one. That's at least an improvement. I'm going to attempt to avoid any like wide open areas for the remainder of the year, and I'll save areas like that I want to do for when I go to audio only, because I'll just be doing a single picture that doesn't have sound, and then I can walk around that area and get out of the wind and stuff, and I think the audio will be a lot better. Plus I'll have a better mic, because I'm just using the camera mic in this thing. That's why it's so low. But anyways, we're going to go into the movie review. This one's going to be Won't You Be My Neighbor. Going to give this one an 8 out of 10. There will be some spoilers. It's a documentary, so really there's not anything to spoil at all. But I don't know. I can't think of anything to spoil in this, but I just want to throw out that warning just in case. Originally I wasn't going to do this one. I didn't like Mr. Rogers as a kid. I kept hearing good things about it though. I had it on my list, like, I've talked about my list of movies to watch, but I had this on my, I keep a list of things to do, like, throughout the week, and I had watched this movie on my list for a long time, and it was finally at the point where I was like, I'm just going to have to do the review on it, because I didn't have time to watch it, and I was really wanting to watch it, and I kept having to watch movies for the review instead. I thought, I'm just going to do the review on it, so that's kind of why I decided on it. I mean, I figured it would work out. It has good messages, and like I said, I was hearing good things about it, so I don't know. I guess I never really got into them. I was never into puppets. Like, I didn't like the Muppets growing up. I didn't like Sesame Street, and I didn't like Mr. Rogers, so I don't know why. Puppets are just, they don't creep me out or anything. It just wasn't, when, to my younger self, it wasn't an attractive thing to watch. I much enjoyed cartoons, and where their mouths actually like move and everything. I don't know. That was younger me. But I want to say this just to get it out of my head, because if I don't say things, they just, there we go. See, it's actually a cloud cover, but I knew it would get better. Now I've got spots in my eyes. Anyways, if I don't say things, they just stay in my head forever, and I keep thinking about them. So I just usually say them after a lot of thought, and this is 100% false. There's nothing behind it. I shouldn't even be saying it, but for some reason, it was probably some sort of clickbait thing. I thought I saw online that it had been discovered he was a pedophile, and I thought it was coming out around the time that the Jared at Subway got discovered, and I was like, that's just what I thought this documentary was about. Like, until I started hearing good things about it, I thought that's what it was about. And then watching it, it was like, why would I even have thought something like that? And it makes me mad because this whole documentary and everything he was about was like not judging people and loving people, and then all I knew, I'd only seen like 3 episodes when I was younger, and I just knew he was kind of a little stranger, and I just instantly made a judgment on something I probably read online, like I said, probably just a clickbait ad. I didn't pursue it or anything like that, and I'm usually better about not doing stuff like that, but, so, that's kind of, until I started hearing good things, that's kind of what I thought about it, so, but completely not true. I watched half of this, and usually I put my notes in a text document, and I just kind of save it after I enter a few notes, but I was like, well, I'm going to watch the whole video tonight, and I always email the notes to myself at work, so that way I can kind of put this together at work, on breaks and stuff, and so I was like, I'll just put it in my email, because it should auto-save drafts and stuff. So, my computer's been having a lot of trouble recently. It's an old computer, and I'm always pushing it to limits, and videos are getting more and more high quality, so it keeps crashing, and I'm pretty sure it's video based, but I really didn't have a lot open, but for whatever reason, it crashed, and the email did not save a draft. It went like way back. I guess you have to force it to save, you have to exit out of it, it's Outlook, and so either way, I lost all my notes on it, and I thought I could just kind of remember some of them, but the whole point of this podcast is kind of a commentary on the movie, and I didn't want to get them all out of order because I like going in order of the movie, and I wasn't going to be able to remember everything exactly, so I ended up just having to rewatch the whole thing. Which, I mean, it's not a terrible thing. It made me really mad that night because I didn't have time to watch the rest of it, or to rewatch all of it. But, I mean, overall, it definitely did me good to see it again, so. But that was a little annoying, little hiccup there. I like how she says when they start off, he takes all the elements that makes good TV and then does the opposite. And a lot of times, the things that are unique, they really stand out. And that's what works. And I thought that was neat how that's where he started off. And even, he says, we were just doing whatever it took, and that turned out to be what was most popular. Like when they had a problem and he just stuck the puppet through just to fill up time, just trying to get everything to flow, and all of a sudden it became a puppet show. That was the whole thing that everyone liked, so, and that was how he was able to talk, and it's neat how, I got a plane flying over. I don't know, I'm sure you can hear that. Glad that worked out for me. I like how he never went into the make-believe land, how that's how they kept a good border between, because they could just do whatever they wanted to in that land, and it was neat because they could use that to teach people, to teach kids about lessons using special effects to grab their attention, and then when it shows him, he's never in there, so he can go out and go into the real world and meet real people, and the kids really get a good sense of learning lessons and grabbing their attention, but also knowing there's real things out there. So I thought that was really cool. Like I said, I probably wouldn't have known that if I'd actually watched the show when I was younger, but I did not. Something I definitely can't do that he said he does, he looks at the camera like it's someone very personal. Not anybody in particular, just someone very personal. I thought that was neat. But not something I'll be doing. The Senate hearing was incredible. I mean, that guy, I don't know what he was, a senator, I guess, whoever was making the decision they were having to convince, man, he was just a bad person. I mean, he didn't care, he was all business, and all the people before Mr. Rogers had blown it, and they couldn't get through to him, and he was ready just to end it all right there. And then Mr. Rogers starts talking, and he's talking about being able to discuss emotions, and that it's alright. And the guy just changes like that. It was so awesome. Because when he says, what was it? He said he had like a song that he wanted to sing, and he asked the guy, would you like to hear it? And he's just like, yes. I mean, it was just a complete change, and that was really what I think is part of the magic of Mr. Rogers that I saw in this documentary. But that was really cool. I love how he says, you've made this day special just by being you. That was really neat. It was interesting how he expressed his feelings better through the puppets. I feel like that's something I could probably do a lot better, would be to express them through something where it's not just me talking. I feel like I do that through pictures. I'm able to express the moods I'm feeling and stuff by the pictures I select. A lot of people talking. I love the quote, I think silence is one of the greatest gifts we have. And that was so neat how he would say something. Oh, there's bicyclists. Oh wait, is there a trail down that way? What? I think there's a trail. Is there a trail up there? Yeah, there is. Yep, okay. Oh, on your way. No, you're fine. Go ahead. Oh, I know where we're at. Come on. Salute. Hey. Alright, you've officially experienced my first interruption during a podcast. But like I said, silence is one of the best gifts we have. I thought that was really neat, and just the way he was always, he'd talk a little bit and then just leave some space there. And for children, that worked especially well because they like to fill in that space. Like if they say something and you don't immediately respond, it's just how they seem to function. Like I've noticed that in my life, that if you just if you just be quiet, then they'll keep talking and tell you more and things like that. So, and this kind of goes into, he had a special way of talking with children, because he talked to them the way that they would talk to adults. And that was really impressive, and I feel like he was definitely blessed with a certain gift that allowed him to do something like that. So that was really neat. Man, I really love 143. I love you. I thought that was so cool. How have I not known that my entire life? I wish that was something I had learned a long time ago, because I, for whatever reason, have trouble saying I love you to people, but I would easily say 143 to people just as a joke, and then say, hey, look it up later. So, which I plan on doing from now on. Just because an issue is tough to tackle or to teach or something doesn't mean the kids aren't experiencing it. And I thought it was neat how there wasn't anything that was too hard for him to try to explain to kids and to help kids, and he really had a passion for it. After I stopped crying and wiped the tears from my eyes, the Mistake song, that was a very good song, and I really, really like how it was a duet, because it really shows that you can't just completely silence the doubts that are within you, and you can keep adding on positivity and making them harder to hear and patting them down, but being able to completely silence them just won't happen. So it was neat how he did that. And it was really hard during that song because they say Daniel, they say Daniel was the real Fred. And it just made it more sad, and it was one of those things where they never really stated, but you kind of get the sense that he was definitely a very happy person, very fulfilled, but because of his childhood, he always had that sense, that always in the back of his mind, that something wasn't right with him, and that things weren't going to work out, or he was going to fail, or something like that. And, I mean, everyone has those, but it was just sad listening to that. I definitely second the motion that people who have been through the most impress me, and that is one of the things that always makes me tear up is when you see a story where someone just doesn't stop fighting and they conquer whatever they're going after, and it really is neat. I really like how they were attacking him by saying, man, from the news reports, they were blaming him on the generation not having a good work ethic, because he was saying everyone was special and everyone thought they were just special on their own. I love how he came back and he was just like, no, he said, it just means that you don't have to do something sensational for people to love you. And that's what he meant by special, is that you're worthy of being loved, and everyone is special. So I thought that was awesome. The quote, "The greatest we can do is to help somebody know that they are loved and they are capable of loving." That was really excellent, and he's right. I mean, that's, throughout life, by far the greatest thing that anyone can do. I also liked how he said, look for the people trying to help because they're always there. And that's definitely true. I mean, even in times of things are super bad, if you look around, there are people out there that are trying to help. And if you don't see them, look harder and ask around, because there's people out there all over the place willing to help. I mean, like, our world's not great, but it's definitely got a lot going for it. So I didn't realize when I started this there's a paved bike trail there. I thought there was just a mountain bike trail here, and I figured the chances of seeing mountain bikers would be rare, but since there's a paved trail there, there's a lot of people walking. I actually don't even know where it goes. I think it goes to an overlook back that way, but I'm not sure. I've got it on my list of things to do to walk it, but it'll not be until like late next week sometime before I get to it. So that's why I'm getting so many stops and pauses and stuff. So I'm probably gonna hit my 30-minute mark on this one. But yeah, like I said, throughout this documentary, I felt like I had met a good friend, and then of course by the end of it, I felt like I'd lost a good friend. But just knowing that Fred Rogers was in this world and all that he did made my life better, and seeing this documentary made my life better. I mean, he was someone that we can all aspire to, and the only reason I'm giving this an 8 out of 10 is just I'm not a big documentary fan. I feel like it would be weird if I gave it a 10 out of 10, because I couldn't just go out and recommend this to somebody, because I don't know, I really liked it because of all the messages it had, but I don't feel like it's that entertaining of a movie, and because it's a documentary. And maybe people that love documentaries would find it entertaining, but that's the only reason I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. So I don't think I could give a documentary a 10 out of 10. But if I could, this would be the one. But that's going to be it for the movie review. We're going to go into the recommendation. This one's going to be Big Fish. This movie's from 2003. Don't really have a whole lot to say about this movie. It's interesting. It's definitely fun to watch. It's got some good messages about seeing things from other people's points of view and things like that. So the description is, Edward becomes ill and his son William travels to be with him. William has a strained relationship with Edward due to him always telling exaggerated stories about his life. Even on his deathbed, Edward recounts fantastical anecdotes. As a journalist, William investigates his father's tales and begins to understand the man and his penchant for storytelling. So that's pretty much it. He's dying, and his son, who doesn't really like him all that much, goes to him and starts to look into some of this stuff, and it's kind of like a fantasy-based movie. It goes into the tales and the adventures he went on and everything like that, so it's really good. Check it out. Big Fish. We're going to go on to jokes and quotes. I actually thought about doing my phone beforehand, and then I forgot, and it's locked. I can't do the quotes first because they lead into the Inside the Introvert section, so I have to actually wait and do them afterwards. Alright. Where does a king keep his armies? In his sleeveys. Alright. When the electricity went off at the school, the students were delighted. Alright, can you hear that bird? You hear that? It's laughing. See? It thought my jokes were hilarious. Because they are hilarious. First quote, good grief. Don't overthink life. Trust you made the right decision and continue to grow. And a lot of times, this kind of goes into accepting what you can't change. A lot of times you just have to make a decision and just keep going. And once you've already made it, there's no looking back, just go. And continue to, if it was a bad decision, then grow from it and learn from your mistakes. But don't sit around and overthink them and worry about them and everything like that. Just keep moving on. And this one's long. I'm actually going to read it. I saw it online somewhere. It says, I like drinking tea alone and reading alone. I like riding the bus alone and walking home alone. It gives me time to think and set my mind free. I like eating alone and listening to music alone. But when I see a mother with her daughter, or with her child, a girl with her lover, or a friend laughing with their best friend, I realize, even though I like being alone, I don't fancy being lonely. And that's one of the things that even introverts can get lonely. You wouldn't think so, but because they like being alone so much, but it is possible for introverts to get lonely. And going into the Inside the Intorvert, my first story, this one isn't quite so much an introverted story, but I actually got lonely recently, and I lost a close relationship, one of those people you can tell just almost anything to, and that I was seeing all the time, and I didn't lose it, it's just long distance now, and she's one of those types of people that only communicates in person, so like I would be fine communicating through email and text and stuff, but she's more of a phone call or in person, and like I don't mind talking on the phone with her, but I mean last time I did it, the connection was bad, and that's why I don't like phone calls, is because a lot of times it's hard to hear them and stuff like that. But I just kind of started off without reading any of this. I didn't really think it would be a big deal, but I also recently lost my roommate, and it was a very bad roommate, so it moved in a positive direction, but that was still a lot of interaction that suddenly is gone, and I think the two of them together was I just got super lonely, and I was like, and I mean, I'm working towards it. Like, I want to put a sign on myself that just says open to new friendships, and then like walk around my work and see if anybody like opens up, because I want to sometimes sit down with people at lunch, because I always sit alone, but if it doesn't work out, or if I definitely wouldn't want to take up a seat that someone else's, if they've got like a big group coming, and if, like I said, if it doesn't work out, then I'm seeing them all over work, and like, just, I'm not good at being an introvert. I'm not good at making new friends, and mainly because I'm so worried about inconveniencing people. I have trouble. I'm like, well, what if they don't want me as a friend, or they don't want new friends, or something like that. But I'm still working on. I got lots of ideas on making new friends and getting out there, and I'm pursuing them. Everything's good. I'm just impatient, and I want everything. I want some new friends now without putting in the effort and the work to get them. But anyways, I thought it was funny because being lonely, my first thought was to take a walk out in nature, way out by a river, and just kind of relax out there. And I think that's because that's what I enjoy the most. So that's just what kind of soothes me. And you wouldn't think being lonely you would want to go out to where there's no people around, but that's an introvert for you. So that's what I did, and it was funny because the lady I'm talking about, right before I left that little area I was at, called me, and we ended up talking for almost an hour. We hadn't talked since she'd taken off. So it's kind of ironic how it was like that day I was having so much trouble, and all of a sudden she called me out of the blue. So I know people say stuff like that. It's like, I was thinking of them and then they called me, but that's what happened. But that's going to be the first story. The second one, so they do random drug tests at work, which I never have to worry about, but it's always an introverted moment whenever it happens, and they contacted me right at the time, like, I'm pretty periodic with going to the bathroom, and they contacted me right at the time I usually go and, like, sit down for a little bit. So I was like, great. So I went into the room, and of course, by the time they contact you, there's already like 5 other people that have previously been contacted that are in the room waiting. So I'm like behind all these people, and my stomach starts going crazy. I'm trying to endure as much as I can. One person goes out, and finally, I'm like, I'm not going to make it. And it's one of those things where you can't just like leave because they think something's wrong. So I ended up telling them what was going on, and I apologized to the people in the room. I was like, I'm going to have to jump the line. I'm sorry, my stomach's killing me. And even then, I was like trying to rush them through, because you have to fill out all the paperwork before you go in there, and they have to do everything like in the correct fashion. But I asked him, I was like, I'm going to have to sit down for a minute, and if that's alright. And he's like, yeah, and of course I couldn't flush it, so he had to look at everything I did afterwards. And even then, I did the bare minimum to get me by, and then I went to the other bathroom and finished everything. But man, it was just like, timing can never be good on those. And the first one was, the first drug test I had at this company was pretty much the exact same. Well, not exact same, but when I started this company, I stressed out about having to go get a drug test, so I drank a bunch of water, because I was stressed out about not being able to use the bathroom when I'm in there. That's always a worry of mine. And of course, nerves don't help. So I drank a ton of water, so I knew that I'd be able to use the bathroom. Well, apparently I drank too much water, and my urine was too diluted, so I ended up technically failing the test because they couldn't read anything, and which I had to go back and redo it before I got the job. But like a month after I got the job, they did another random test on me and a bunch of other people, and that was probably why I was selected, because I technically failed the first one. And they contacted me right after I came in, because I come into work and use the bathroom and then go to my desk, and they contacted me right after I did that, so I had nothing in me. So I downed a full bottle of water. It took an hour for it to go through me because I had nothing left. But since I had drank that entire bottle of water, it all hit me at the exact same time. I was like, you can't just like go, because they're processing other people and other people are doing it, and the paperwork takes a long time. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I barely held it in while I was waiting on them to get me there so I could do that. So I've never had a good drug test. They've all been terrible. But those are kind of the introverted things I do. I sure hope it's still recording. But if it is, we're going to end it. That's it. You can find all my videos on YouTube. It's got all the episodes. You can use Online Video Converter to put them in MP3, or just listen to them on there. My Instagram and Twitter, I post funny pictures, and I don't really say much on them. I just post links on Twitter and funny pictures and stuff on Instagram that I find on other websites that I think other people might enjoy. And I do post anything that I post that's my picture that I took. It'll have me tagged in it, so it'll say SilverC Review in the text somewhere if it's a picture I actually took. And all my episodes the episodes are on SoundCloud for like a month or so you can see the last like 6 episodes, and that's it. Take care.